let's look at a global information system. Global information system is an information system that works across national borders. It facilitates communication between headquarters and subsidiaries in other countries. And also, it incorporates all the technologies and applications that can be found in a typical information systems in order to gather, store, manipulate, and transmit data across cultural and geographical boundaries. In other words, GIS is an information system for managing global operations, supporting an international company's decision-making process, and dealing with the complex variables in global operations and decision-making. With a GIS in place, an international company can increase its control over its subsidiaries and better coordinate their activities. Strategic planning is a core function of a GIS. By being able to efficiently share information among subsidiaries, international companies can track performance, develop production schedules, finding shipping alternatives, and accounting items. A GIS can be defined along two dimensions, control as well as coordinations. Organizations may use different combinations of these dimensions. So let's look at each dimension in more detail. Coordination is a process of managing the interaction among activities in different specialized parts of an organization. Control requires a centralized architecture for data, a standardized definition used across the organization, standard formats for reports, defined behavior for different processes such as how to respond when a customer complains, and performance tracking system. Coordination, on the other hand, requires a decentralized architecture for the data, standardized within the department, and as well as ability to communicate these standards to other departments, collaboration systems, and technologies that support informal communication and socialization. The trade-off between the amount of control needed and the amount of coordination needed defines the company's organizational strategy. Now let's look at the components of global information system. GIS have two basic components, a global database as well as information sharing technologies. In order to design and implement a global database, there is a technological challenge that because of different characteristics that requires for the name of people and places and different formats that is required for phone numbers and postal codes, it's hard to design a database. Also, currency conversion is also a challenge for this type of a database. So for this type of a databases, we use something called enterprise resource planning. SAP is actually one of the enterprise resource planning that has a lot of these features and capabilities for global information systems. International companies can also use a variety of technologies for an integrated GIS. So companies might outsource to take advantage of their expertise that's not available within their companies. An information system manager faces design and implementation issues when developing a global network. In addition to the usual component of a domestic network, a global network requires bridges, routers, and gateways that allow several networks to connect worldwide. So determine the best communication media to meet the global performance and traffic needs is something that the information system manager needs to determine as well. In terms of the traffic needs, such as thinking about having a fiber optic versus satellite or conventional phone lines. Factors that the manager needs to consider includes bandwidth, range, noise, as well as cost. In addition, an information system manager must choose the best transmission technology for global networks need. Without reliable transmission, a network has no value. Current transmission technologies are synchronous, asynchronous, multiplexing, and analog. With synchronous transmission, both parties are basically connected at the same time, same as phone call. With asynchronous transmission, they don't have to be connected at the same time. Using a true email address would work. However, an international company is restricted to the transmission technology that are supported by the telecommunication infrastructure of that company, where the subsidiaries are being located. Information system managers must also consider the company's objectives when they want to determine the network architecture. For example, if the company's international communication requires only entails simple file sharing, and if response time is not very important, half duplex transmission can be used. With a value-added network is probably adequate enough. However, if the company uses multimedia communication such as video conferencing and electronic meeting system, in addition to file and database sharing, full duplex transmission is more efficient. Also, the technology manager, the information system manager, decides on type of information sharing technologies they will be using. While making these decisions, the manager should keep in mind that a standardized software and hardware that are ideal, they might not be feasible. For example, using the same hardware in another country might be desirable, but it's not simple as to do shipping, and maybe those suppliers they might not support it in that countries, so they might have to use different standard. As for using the same software in other countries, that also becoming complicated because of the differences in the language, business method, and trans-border data flow, which is subject to restriction on how the data can be captured as well as transmitted. TDF comprises national law and international agreement on privacy protection as well as data security. We said that what makes the information system global is that the GIS must be able to be capable of supporting complex global decisions. A lot of companies now are using the term MNC, multinational corporation. These organizations, they have assets and operation in at least one country other than their home country. They actually deliver products and services across national borders, and normally they manage it from the headquarters, which could be, for example, US headquarters or China headquarters and so on. A global environment includes four kinds of factors that needs to pay attention. One of them is legal, such as intellectual properties, the laws and pattern. And the other one is the culture, basically language, ethical issues, religion, belief. And another one is economics, which has to care about the currency, tax structure, and the interest rate, as well as political factor, such as what type of government they have, the stability that exists within that political situation, and so on. It is critical to understand the global risk of operating an MNC corporation, especially pay attention to the political, foreign exchange, and market risks. Political risk could include problems that can be caused by unstable government. In recent years, you had unstable government in Middle East. Maybe that's not a very good solution for companies to actually develop MNCs in Middle East or Africa, despite the low cost that is available in these countries because of their instability in the political situation. GIS can be actually classified according to different kinds of managerial support it provides. First is operational, second one is tactical, and then the third one is strategic. Based on this classification, a GIS should collect, process, and generate information in formats that's suitable for each type of support. Some of the operational categories can be classified as global data access, which online access to information from location around the world, which allow management to monitor the global operation from the company's headquarters. Consolidated global reporting, this is also a very crucial tool for management that they have overseas subsidiaries. These reports can include accounting, financial data, manufacturing, and inventory, which enterprise resource planning can provide all this into one database. Also, communication between headquarters and subsidiaries to facilitate decision-making and planning process. A GIS should provide an effective means of communication between the headquarters and subsidiaries as well. And finally, management of short-term foreign exchange risk. A mix of free floating, managed floating, and fixed exchange rate can actually be used in part of the monetary systems. Currency rate can change daily, so management must minimize the impacts of currency fluctuations in countries where the parent company and the subsidiaries are located. So that's why it's important to pay attention to the political situation, because if the political situation is unstable, the exchange rate can fluctuate a lot. Strategic planning support, which is a core of GIS and a focus on regionalizing resources more effectively and responding to rapid environmental changes, such as increased political and foreign exchange risk and also global competition, as well as management of global tax risk, which they have to be able to design a system that manages the tax risk that is required to have a knowledge of basically international finance and international laws, as well as the monetary systems of that country.